it's Mrs. C here with Cycle 2, Week 18. I'm just gonna apologize again for getting these out late. I had intended to do these all for Christmas break and that did not happen. But here we are, Week 18. I'm gonna try to do a few more videos today so that I can at least have the next few weeks, and then hopefully I'll get the year finished out very soon. But we're gonna jump right in. So for geography this week, we've got more European countries. So a few weeks ago, I think it was week 16, you may remember, I went ahead and introduced Hungary to my class just because when we were coming up and around, it just made sense because we were hopping over it. So I just went ahead and introduced it. So my class has already learned Hungary, and maybe you do that with yours too, but we're gonna have Hungary today. We've got Italy, Austria, Czechia, I believe is how you say that, and Slovakia. So I am just gonna plan on starting in Italy because that's the most easily identifiable one. It's the boot, everybody kind of knows that. We'll remind ourselves Rome is in Italy, and then we will just work up from Italy and go up into Austria. I think we've talked about Switzerland already, and so we will touch on Switzerland. We'll talk about how the Alps also go through Austria. Remind ourselves the Matterhorn is in the Alps, just kind of as we're moving through and going up into these countries. I like to remind them of the places they've already learned that's around there just to help solidify where these are. So crossing over the Alps into Austria, we'll probably go from Austria over to Hungary. Which one is one we've already talked about. And then from Hungary, we'll go up into Slovenia and then over into Czechia is probably how I intend to go through these 5 locations. Again, Hungary and Slovenia, Hungary only a little bit maybe, but Slovenia and Czechia both have the Carpathian Mountain, so we'll talk about that. We have, I'm making sure I'm telling you the right ones, the Danube River running through Austria, the very tip of it, Slovakia and Hungary. And then Czechia is where the Elbe kind of ends. So just reminding them of those rivers and the locations that we've already learned. So we will just go over those several different times. And with my older class, as we're going through them, I like to then throw in other locations. So I might be like, okay, I find Italy. And then I might jump from Italy and go, okay, where's Finland? And we'll jump up to Finland.
Mommy,
yes, dear?
Graham's being mean.
Graham's being mean?
Yeah.
Oh no, what should we do?
Bacon.
Spank him?
Mm-hmm.
He needs all the spankings?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my.
5.
5, wow, that's a lot. You're kind of a mean punisher, aren't you? Why don't you go tell Grammy to be nice while I'm doing my video, okay?
No.
Okay.
That's not good.
That's not good. Well, I'm sorry, I gotta do my video now. Do you wanna sit with me for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay, you have to be quiet. Okay, so anyway, I will jump from one location to another. So I might say, okay, we're gonna go to Hungary, and then what's the one right up next to Hungary that we've learned? That's Romania. And then I say, okay, let's go to England. Oh, where's Slovenia? And then we might jump from Slovenia. Which one's this one? It's Portugal. What sea is this? It's the Black Sea. And I just jump all around the map and then jump back to new locations that we've learned. So after we go over them a few times, I start jumping around on the map just to kind of make sure that they're not just saying them rote in order of the way we've learned them, that they are actually kind of learning where they are. So with the younger class, I wouldn't do that. I would just concentrate on saying the names and pointing them out and jumping around. And you can just do that even with just kind of a chant or rhythm. So Italy, Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, Czechia. And then just do it again. Italy, Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, Czechia. You like that one? Oh, 6. So that's what we will do for geography. While I'm putting my geography away, we've been doing Latin. Be quiet. So for our Latin, it's going to be our 4th time through this Latin. So hopefully your class has this down and it's not something new, you're not introducing it. So I would not spend a lot of time here. I would just chant through it a few times, remind them that it's future tense. So it's going to start with bow because we've got our bow pulled back, and in the future we're going to shoot our arrow. Our arrow isn't shooting yet, but it's going to be shooting in the future. So we have bow bis bit, bimis bitis bunt, and I would just sing through that a few times. I like to do that while we're putting our maps away, or if I'm getting something else out for the next subject, we just kind of chant through that while we're putting things away. Then we will move on to math. So for math, we are still doing our geometry song. I will sing it for you guys. Hopefully you've have got it down, but I'll sing it through. We're going to be doing the area of a triangle. I do like to draw these on the board just so they kind of get an idea of what we're talking about, especially again with the older class. They may be doing some of this in math, but they understand multiplication and things at this point. So just kind of showing them what they're multiplying and what they're doing. So our song goes, the area of a rectangle equals length times width. The area of a square equals length of its side squared, squared. The area of a triangle equals 1/2 base times height. The area of a circle equals pi times the radius squared. The circumference of a circle equals 2 times pi times the radius. And then I will say pi equals 3.14. So that way they are getting the pi in there. Again, when I first learned this, we didn't have to say pi, but now we do, which is good. They should know what pi is. So we'll sing through that song, and then we'll focus on the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And we'll just make sure that they are knowing the 1/2 base times height. Most of my class already knows these. Math is, the multiplication part of math I love because they need to know that, but I don't love doing it in class because it's complicated. But then you get to this part of the year and it's pretty easy peasy. So let's tell Cooper to be quiet for me. Go get him. Go get him. Excuse my dog. Oh, I gotta sneeze. All right, so we're gonna move on to science. So for science this week, we have our third law of motion, and this is the one that's for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So Livy, give me your hand. If I pull Livy's hand this way, oh, Livy goes that way. If I push Livy that way, Livy goes that way. Back and forth, back and forth. So, that's okay. So I will probably have them partner up in class and make sure to run them to do it gently, but I will have them hold hands just like I did with Livy. Can I have your hand again, Livy? All right. Livy, you pull my hand. Pull me. If Livy pulls me, then I go that way. If I pull Livy, oh, she goes this way. So for every action, there's an equal, an opposite reaction. So if you pull something, it's going to come towards you. And if you push something, it's going to go away from you. And it's an equal and opposite reaction. So you might also maybe have a little car, and you can take it and you can push it on one side and watch it roll the other way, and then push it back and watch it go back and forth. And that's our equal and opposite reaction. I also like to sing the song from The Sword and the Stone, which is to and fro, stop and go. That's what makes the world go round. To and fro, stop and go. That's what makes the world go round. For every stop, there is a go. For every high, there is a low. And that's what makes the world go round. That's the third law of motion. That's obviously not what it says here. So, but I'll just go through and we'll do whatever action we're going to do as we say Newton's third law of motion. Got it, Livy? Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Then we'll go on to English. So for English this week, I'll be using some hand motions. I don't do a ton of those with my older class because they don't love them, but that's okay. Sometimes hand motions work well. So we have our 5 cases of a noun. So we're going to have subject, and we're going to point to ourselves like we are the subject. We're talking about it. Then we have direct object, and we're going to point directly at someone. I'm pointing at Olivia. She's my direct object. And then we're going to have indirect object, and for indirect object, we're not going to point at anything specific. We're just kind of indirectly pointing. And then, I don't know why, but I always like pat my belly and go, object of the preposition. Can you say that?
No.
Object of the preposition. And we pat our bellies and say it kind of like a robot. And then we have possessive. You're mine. So we're just going to grab whatever we have and it's ours. We're possessive of it. Okay? So subject pointing at me. Direct object pointing at something or someone else. Indirect object, we're just going to indirectly point, not at anything specific. And then object of the preposition and possessive. right? You got it? So we'll go over those a few times. If your class likes doing that, you can maybe have them take turns picking emotion and doing it, and the class having to guess. So like if it was my turn, I might go like this and the class would say possessive, and then maybe the next person would go like this and the class would say subject. So that is what I'll be doing for English. Let's see, history. For history, we've got the United Nations. So yeah, that's the whole world. That's geography. That's right. So what I plan to do is bring in some props this week for history. I'm going to let the kids take turns. So I'll have 3 of them be Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin. And I'm going to have a piece of paper with the League of Nations on one side and then United Nations on the other, because the League of Nations is going to not become the United Nations, but after the League of Nations comes the United Nations. So I will have that up, and I'll let one of the students hold the League of Nations and then turn it over when we're the United Nations. For Roosevelt, I plan on bringing in some type of like maybe binoculars or a cowboy hat, something explorer-y, since he really enjoyed the nature and the outdoors. So I'm going to bring that for my person playing Roosevelt. If I can find a pair of glasses or something, I might bring that since he also had glasses, but I will be bringing that in for him. And then Prime Minister Churchill, he would always had a cigar, so I am going to bring just a brown marker and let them pretend to have a cigar. And then Stalin, if you look at the picture, he has a huge mustache. So I've got a black, just one of those pocket combs that I'm going to let them hold up and for their mustache for Stalin. If you have fake mustaches, that might be something fun that they could put on a fake mustache for Stalin. So we'll let one side of the class act it out, and they can do whatever kind of silly motion they want to do whenever we say their name. And then we'll have the one person with paper, so it says League of Nations, they'll have that. And began the United Nations, they'll turn it over to United Nations, and then the other 3. And then I have 8 in my class now. We got a new student, which is exciting. Then I will let the other 4 act that out as we work through the sentence. So that is what I'm going to do for history. And that brings us to timeline. So for timeline, our first one is Cherokee Trail of Tears. So we're going to make the sign, this is like an F for feather. It looks kind of like the OK sign. And we're going to touch our nose to our ear and then bring it up back here for Cherokee. So this is our Indian sign, Cherokee. And then with these 4 fingers, we're going to pat our face like this, Trail of Tears. Okay, so Cherokee Trail of Tears. And then for U.S. Westward expansion, it happens really fast and it's a lot of words, but we really only have time to make a W, and we're going to move it across our body going west. So U.S. Westward expansion. Marx publishes the Communist Manifesto. We're just going to it's not like a punch like this. It's kind of like a curve in, punch up. So this is, I guess, a sign that they do in communism. I wouldn't know. So we're just going to kind of punch in the air like this. So Marx publishes the Communist Manifesto, and then we're going to come down and we're going to write on our hands for his manifesto. Okay. Then we have the Compromise 1850. We did compromise earlier. So we're going to be bringing our thoughts from our brain down, and we're going to align them with other people, one person or a group of people. But here our thoughts are bringing them together with someone else. So you're just having your fingers kind of look like this, but they're pointed down. So the Compromise 1850, and then the Dred Scott decision said that he was still a slave. So we're going to cross our arms like we do for slavery. So Compromise 1850 and the Dred Scott decision. The U.S., so like we did earlier when we talked about immigrants flocking to America, we're going to interlock our fingers and kind of go around for our melting pot. The U.S. restores trade, so you got to kind of tilt your palms upwards, and you're pinching money, and you're going to go back and forth. We're trading. U.S. restores trade with, and like we did earlier, kind of pinching and making this crescent shape for the shape of the islands of Japan. Then we have British Queen Victoria. So for Britain, I don't know why this is the sign, but you're going to have a flat hand. Your other hand's going to come over and grab it, and you're going to kind of shake. So British Queen Victoria, making a V for Victoria's, rule. So this is two X's, kind of like this. So it looks like your fingers are hooks, and you're gonna have them out and you're gonna go like this. And the reason they do that sign is it's supposed to be like the reins. That's how you would hold the reins of a horse, and you're controlling, so you're reigning over. So we have British Queen Victoria rules or reigns over, and then just like we've done for India before, we're gonna point to the bindi dot that's on the head, rules over India. And then we have Darwin publishes the origin of species. So we're gonna get D for Darwin, and then there you go, D for Darwin. And then taking that same finger, we're going to take our opposite hand and kind of stick our finger in between our thumb here, like we're turning a key for the origin of species. He thought it was what was gonna like unlock the origin of species, right? So Darwin publishes the origin of species. Okay, and that's all we have for week 18. I hope you guys are doing well. Again, I apologize if this was not out in time for you. I cannot help the sickness, but I think we're all well now. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. And I will be back soon with week 19. Thanks, guys. Bye.